Let's catch up with David Littleproud, the Nationals leader. Now, he joins me live from Mudgee in New South Wales. Good to speak to you again, David.
Yeah, thanks for having me, mate.
Boots on the ground in Ukraine, Australian peacekeepers in Ukraine. Do you think Anthony Albanese is serious or was just a slip of the tongue from him?
Well, I hope not. I don't think we should be sending boots on the ground into the Ukraine. I think that's a responsibility for the Europeans to undertake. They're better placed to be able to undertake that commitment. And it's great to see there is a coalition of the willing there to be able to support Ukraine in anything they need. But when we've got Chinese boats circling Australia, I would have thought the government's and the ADF's priorities is about making sure that our defences are up to scratch and that we're investing and we're actually strategising about protecting our own people. When the Prime Minister is currently relying on Virgin pilots to let us know that Chinese ships are undertaking live fire exercises, you got to have to ask the question why. Why would it be going down this route? We're going to support the Ukrainians, and we've done that with Bushmasters and other equipment, but to put boots on the ground on the other side of the planet is bizarre.
Well, if Anthony Albanese is talking in terms of being open to any proposals, it sounds like maybe he would join this coalition of the willing. Are you going to seek a briefing from the government as to what they're planning to do here? Because this is a major national security issue and possible commitment.
We would expect that, and particularly as you head towards caretaker period, you would expect that there can't be any commitments until after the election, if that is the case, and we don't receive a request from the Ukrainian government. So I think we've just got to put this into context. We've been very supportive so far, we'll continue to be supportive, but in terms of putting boots on the ground, that's a different level of support than hardware. And when we have our own defence issues to focus on, I think a government of Australia should be focusing on our own sovereignty, our own security, and making sure that we're up to scratch and we're doing everything we can here to send the right messages to anyone that would want to try and do the same as what Vladimir Putin's done to the Ukraine.
Now, I've got to get you on government spending. An additional $30 billion wheeled out by Anthony Albanese in just the last few weeks. Now, you've matched some of that, the Medicare spending, for instance, but in the end, you're going to have to go to the election promising and detailing a lot less spending than Labor, aren't you? Because this stuff is only going to spike up inflation again.
Yeah, well, look, you're right, and this is a closing down sale by Anthony Albanese. He's simply, every time he opens his mouth, he drops another billion. The reality is we've been very clear about the public service. 36,000 new public servants in Canberra is not the answer, costing you $24 billion. Most of those haven't even been employed yet. They're about to be employed. So we've got to be sensible about that. We've got to get a public service that gets back to its core principle of looking after its customer. And its customer is you, the Australian taxpayer. And on frontline services, we've been very clear, we're going to protect those. But where we don't need to employ people in providing those frontline services, that's not going to add productivity to this economy if we put them into the public service. We need them out, supporting business, creating wealth for this country, because governments don't create jobs, business do. The only jobs we create in Canberra you pay for, and you're going to pay $24 billion for 36,000 extra ones that Anthony Albanese wants to bring to Canberra. That is something the country can't afford, and that's what we won't be doing.
Now, the food industry is desperate to get some help from the government. So that's so important to everyone because our cost of living pressures are extreme. But when it comes to food producers, distributors and retailers, surely power costs are one of the huge inputs. The best thing the government could do would be to deliver on its promise to reduce power costs.
Yeah, and that's nowhere in sight. They promised $275 reduction and it's up by over $700. The only way to get us out of this in the short term, Chris, is to drill our way out of this. The only way to get supply into the grid is gas. We've got to drill in the short term and drill hard to get gas into the grid because your power bill is determined by the highest input cost of all the inputs, and the highest input is gas. If you increase supply, you bring that price down. That not only brings your electricity bill down, it brings food processors' bills down. And in the long term, we've got to transition to nuclear energy. We've got to have baseload power. You can't run a country on the industrial scale of the size of Australia on renewable energy. It simply can't be done. No one in the world is doing it because it can't be done. So let's be sensible, let's spread our risk, let's put all our energy eggs in one basket, but draw on the sovereignty of all our resources in this country. But in the short term, we can give the farm sector, the supply sector, and you some hope, not only electricity bill, your grocery bill, by drilling our way out of it, giving sensible policy around an ag visa to get workers in, and making sure that we also look at sensible things around industrial relations to drive that. They're the common sense solutions that don't cost you the money that this government's going to cost you.
David, thanks for joining us. Enjoy beautiful Mudgee. David Littleproud there, the Nationals leader. He's dead right. You can't run this country on renewables plus storage. It can't happen. It won't happen. That's what all the expert analysis shows. Yet we've got a government and most of the media and half of the political world pretending it can happen. Ask yourselves this. If it can happen, why is no other country even attempting it? Not doing it. No one will be able to do it, but they're not even trying. National energy self-harm in this country does my head in.